March 3rd, 1968, 1:18 a.m., West 125th Street. Nicky Barnes steps into a locked club that should be empty. A briefcase waits under one yellow lamp, and Frank Lucas says, "Tonight you can buy a burro, but, kid." He flips the latches, showing $100,000 in bands, then names a disciplined street captain on Lenox Avenue right now. Frank wants Nicky to shame him publicly, break his alliance, and where the police heat afterward instead, all alone. Nicky studies the room. Two watchers in cheap suits, a bartender polishing nothing, and one clean back exit open. He hears the real offer beneath the money become Frank's mask, so Frank stays invisible when blood comes later. Nicky smiles, reaches into the case, grabs a thick stack, and slaps it straight into Frank's face hard once. Bills slide down Frank's collar like dirty snow, and the room forgets how to breathe for seconds after that. Frank doesn't yell. He just says, "Walk out, and you pick a side. Quiet as a knife today, Nicky." Nicky stands without rushing, because rushing looks like fear, and fear is a scent predators follow at night too. "I'm not your shield," he replies, and he leaves the club with his hands empty and his name heavier. Outside, his driver Junior idles a black 1966 Fleetwood, watching mirrors like they might start talking again soon anyway. Nicky slides in, smelling cold air and gasoline, and tells Junior, "No war tonight, just listening." Drive slow home. They roll past Apollo's dark marquee, and Nicky notices a sedan creeping behind them with headlights dimmed too low. He turns on a Lenox, loses it with one careful loop, then stops a hallway payphone that rings twice. Nicky answers on the second ring, because only Bumpy Johnson calls after midnight without sending a messenger, first ever. Bumpy's voice is calm smoke. "Barnes, I heard Frank try to rent your hands. Come see me now, alone." March 3rd, 1968, 2:07 a.m., Bumpy's brownstone on Stryver's roast smells of coffee, tobacco, and patience tonight for him. Bumpy sits in a high chair, gray suit perfect, eyes tired, as if Harlem has been arguing all day. He waves Nicky closer and says, "Frank's smart, but smart men still panic when they get greedy. Too fast." Nicky keeps standing, refusing comfort, and answers, "He wanted me to break discipline so he could play savior, later." Bumpy nods once, then taps a small slip of paper filled with names, precinct numbers, and diner addresses inside. "These people hear raids before they happen," Bumpy says, "and they hear who's talking before you do. Now, Barnes." Nicky finally sits, but only on the edge, like he expects the chair to betray him suddenly again today. Bumpy leans forward, voice low. "After me, there's no referee, just Italians, cops, and hungry boys. Every single block." Nicky asks, "So you want me to take the chair?" And Bumpy answers, "I want you to survive it." Bumpy's condition comes out like a rule carved in stone. Never make yourself a legend before it's time, son. Legends draw cameras, he adds, and cameras draw handcuffs, and handcuffs don't care who you are at all ever. Nicky pockets the paper, feeling its weight, then says, "Frank will move the moment you blink. In Harlem, too." Bumpy's smile is thin. "Let him move. You don't beat a snake by chasing. You beat it by starving." On the way out, Nicky sees a car idling across the street, and Bumpy murmurs, "Someone's already counting you." Nicky answers, "Let them count," but he checks the shadows anyway, because counting leads to targeting eventually for sure. By dawn, he starts collecting leverage, debts, quiet habits, gambling slips, and a detective's name with a shaky wife. He doesn't touch Frank yet. He just builds a map, and maps are how wars begin without gunfire first. June 19th, 1968, 9:10 p.m., a dry cleaner on Malcolm X hides file boxes behind hanging shirts and machines. Nicky reads receipts like scripture, tracing who paid who borrowed, and who would panic if exposed today publicly. Junior fidgets nearby and whispers, "This paperwork stuff feels soft," and Nicky replies, "Paper cuts deeper than steel does." He learns the Lenox captain keeps order by paying rent for widows, and by punishing freelancing quietly each month. Frank's people try to tempt that captain with bigger margins, but the captain refuses because chaos ruins his control. Nicky meets the captain at a 116th Street diner, choosing a booth facing the door, choosing calm over pride. The captain says, "I heard Frank try to buy you," and Nicky answers, "He tried to buy my problems." They agree on one rule: no public humiliation games, no circus, because every spotlight invites a badge later too. That week, Nicky pays 3 old debts for Bumpy's men, not to be kind, but to be obeyed fast. He also rescues 2 soldiers from a basement discipline room, telling them, "You work for rules, not fear, anymore." Micro rumors start. Barnes is paying bills. Barnes is buying silence. Barnes is collecting names like trophies in small boxes. Frank hears those whispers and smiles, because he thinks money spent on peace can't survive pressure for long anyway. He sends a message through a nightclub singer. "Tell Barnes I'll make him famous, sweet as poison tonight again." Nicky replies through the same singer. "Fame is for dead men." And he doubles his surveillance on Lenox Corners. 2 unmarked cars begin appearing near his driver's building, and Nicky realizes the watchers might be federal already close. He calls one number from Bumpy's list, and a calm voice says, "Task Force, new detective, hungry. Stay small." Nicky hangs up and understands the trap. Survive Frank, survive Italians, but also survive attention itself every damn day. July 7th, 1968, 6:12 p.m., Harlem Hospital smells like bleach and fear, and Bumpy Johnson stops breathing right there. The news spreads by phone, by stoop, by barbershop, faster than radio, faster than police paperwork all night long. Frank Lucas hears it and sends champagne to the wrong people, because he thinks the referee's death equals freedom. Nicky hears it and goes silent for 60 seconds, sitting in his kitchen, staring at a cold cup alone. Then he stands and starts buying yesterday, exactly like Bumpy said, moving faster than grief can argue with him. At 7:24 p.m., he posts $3,500 bail for Willie, a Bumpy soldier, at the 28th Precinct desk quietly too. The desk sergeant squints and asks, "You his family?" And Nicky answers, "Harlem is family tonight. Remember that, sir." At 8:10 p.m., he clears a $1,200 rent debt for an elderly widow on St. Nicholas. No questions asked. At 9:33 p.m., he settles a gambling note for a church deacon's son, then warns the lender, "Disappear." Now, by 11:50 p.m., 3 corner crews swear loyalty because their boys came home and their mothers slept finally again. Nicky visits a basement where Bumpy's men were being taught, and he unlocks the door himself at midnight too. No more cages. He tells them, "We do discipline upstairs in daylight, with receipts and witnesses from now on." A young hustler asks, "Are we at war?" And Nicky answers, "Not if we act like owners. Today first." Still, he feels eyes on him, because peace costs attention, and attention attracts men who need headlines for careers. At 2:05 a.m., he meets Bumpy's lieutenants in a diner and hands them envelopes, not speeches to repeat exactly. They understand the signal. Barnes isn't grieving, he's governing, and governance is scarier than revenge for all their enemies. Across town, Frank hears the same reports and realizes too late. His trap failed, but the war still started. July 12th, 1968, 11 a.m., the church on Adam Clayton Powell Boulevard is packed with perfume, sweat, and fear. Cadillacs line the curb, black umbrellas hide faces, and plainclothes cops pretend to be mourners with dry eyes today. Nicky wears a simple dark suit, no jewelry, and stands near the front without claiming the light yet either. Frank arrives late at 11:26, sliding into a pew, bowing his head, smiling like patience, counting like hunger inside. When hymns fade, people wait for a loud air, but Nicky steps forward and keeps his voice cold tight. "Harlem isn't for sale," he says, "not to Italians, not to outsiders, not to men who rent other hands. He doesn't say Frank's name, but Frank's jaw tightens because everyone hears the arrow whistle past him just fine. Nicky adds, order stays, money moves, noise stops, and the sentence lands like a new law today in stone. Outside, at 1:05 p.m., the burial procession crawls toward the cemetery, engines humming like restrained anger under every hood. A man brushes Nicky's shoulder and murmurs, "They want you after," then disappears into the crowd, so stay ready. Junior whispers, "We leaving," and Nicky answers, "We don't run at funerals, we watch who smiles." Too wide now. Two Italian soldiers step into the lane at 2:20 p.m., guiding Nicky's car toward East 116th upstairs for talk. The escort feels polite, but the message isn't. You may run Harlem, but you don't run alone ever again. As they drive, Nicky spots an unmarked sedan trailing, and he wonders if it's cops or Frank's mirror team. He remembers Bumpy's rule, and he keeps his face blank because blank faces don't give reporters stories to print. Still, he feels the city rebalancing under him, like a bridge shifting weight, cables whining quietly at each step. When the restaurant door opens, Nicky steps inside, knowing the next words will decide whether Harlem stays calm tomorrow. July 12th, 1968, 3:07 p.m. The back room above an East 116th restaurant smells of garlic and discipline only. Four Italians sit like furniture, rings flashing, while one man at the head speaks without giving his name once. He says, "Bumpy kept it smooth," and Nicky answers, "Smooth is business, and business hates headlines more than bullets." A soldier laughs softly, and Nicky looks at him until the laugh dies, because staring is its own weapon. The man at the head offers terms: 30 days, steady cash, quiet corners, and cops kept nervous outside always. "You fail," he says, "we pick someone else," and Nicky replies, "Then you'll buy chaos you can't resell cheap." He names Frank without naming him. The man who rents other hands burns neighborhoods and calls it profit later. The headman studies Nicky, then says, "You talk like a king," and Nicky answers, "I talk like insurance." As Nicky stands to leave, a waiter bumps his chair and slips him a folded napkin like an accident. In the car, Junior opens it and reads Fed Task Force. "New detective. Watching you," in block letters now. Junior asks, "Is that real?" And Nicky says, "Real enough to change how we breathe and move today, Junior." He calls one of Bumpy's numbers, and a calm voice confirms, "They're building a case, slowly, carefully against you." Nicky asks who tipped them, and the voice says, "Could be Frank, could be you, could be luck too." He hangs up and feels the squeeze. Italians above, Frank's sideways, federalized behind, and Harlem underneath holding him. So he chooses an empire that stays quiet. Fewer shooters, more accountants, fewer boasts, more receipts every week paid. Frank tries stirring chaos with rumors, but Nicky answers by paying bail, paying rent, paying respect silently on time. By August, the corners are calm enough to feel unnatural, and that unnatural calm becomes Nicky's signature in Harlem. 1969 turns into 1970, and Nicky's network grows like plumbing. Invisible, essential, and only noticed when it leaks badly. A courier drives a beige Dodge Dart from Queens twice weekly, delivering sealed tins that never touch street corners. On Tuesday nights, money is counted at a 138th Street apartment, $47,000 at a time, logged by hand only. A Bronx supplier demands higher prices, and Nicky refuses, offering instead protection from raids using Bumpy's phone tree today. The supplier tests him with a threat, and Nicky answers with paperwork, photos, debts, and a brother on parole. Within 48 hours, the threat evaporates because blackmail doesn't need bullets. It just needs timing and truth sometimes alone. Frank Lucas keeps pushing his own product, but customers notice Nicky's is cleaner, and the street follows quality fast. In a midtown restaurant, Frank tells an associate, "Barnes is hiding, and the associate answers, hiding wins, sometimes frank. The Italians are pleased by the calm and start taking their cut without questions, which makes them complacent too. That complacency lets Nicky expand south of 110th, quietly buying doormen, porters, and one nightclub manager outright with cash. He stays mostly unseen, but success has a problem. People want a face, a myth, a headline to share. Junior buys him a fur coat as a gift, and Nicky laughs, but he keeps it in storage anyway. In 1972, a charity gala invites community leaders, and Nicky decides showing up could protect his business for once. He tells himself it's strategy, not vanity, but strategy and vanity use the same mirror at night, sometimes too. The new federal detective, Daniel O'Rourke, reads the invite list and circles Barnes' name, sensing pressure points everywhere now. O'Rourke doesn't plan a raid. He plans a patience campaign, following money, photos, and public moment from then on. Nicky doesn't know O'Rourke yet, but the city has already set the hook, waiting for one flash of fur. September 18th, 1972, 9:40 p.m., the Waldorf Ballroom glows too bright, and Nicky arrives wearing the fur coat open. Cameras pivot, guests whisper, and Detective O'Rourke watches from the bar, noticing the coat before the man, always first. Nicky shakes hands, smiles lightly, and tells himself, one night can't change years, but it already has for sure. O'Rourke tails the Fleetwood home, writes down the garage address, then starts building subpoenas like bricks each week carefully. Phones get tapped, couriers get stopped, and one nervous accountant decides silence is expensive when prison is free too. Frank Lucas hears Barnes is under federal glass and feeds a tip, hoping heat will finish what money couldn't. In Harlem, whispers flip. Barnes is careless. Then Barnes is doomed, and loyalty starts demanding proof from him now. March 6th, 1973, 6:15 a.m., agents hit his door with warrants, polite voices, and hard intentions all at once. Nicky doesn't fight. He watches their hands, notes their shoes, and says, "You finally needed daylight to catch me." At the station, O'Rourke lays out photos, ledgers, and recordings, then offers a choice dressed as mercy for him. Legend or freedom, O'Rourke says, and Nicky hears Bumpy's warning echoing, late, inside his ribs again and again today. He bargains, not with tears, but with numbers, shaving years off a sentence by trading maps of power away. Names fall like dominoes, and Harlem learns a cruel fact. The system doesn't need bullets, just paperwork and time. Frank survives the first wave, but his circle shrinks because everyone wonders who else is writing notes on them. Nicky sits alone later, realizing he avoided Frank's old trap, yet still got caught by one flash of fur. Harlem keeps moving, replacing kings with new hustlers, but the lesson stays sharp. Power is quiet or dead always. The first nail in your coffin isn't betrayal or prison. It's the moment you prove you exist too loudly.